If you love football, this will make your heart break. And this is the football nation. This is Ghana, the home of the Black Stars. And here we don't have a football pitch to play our international games on. And so for the very first time, we are very likely going to be playing our home games elsewhere, not in Ghana. The sports minister is trying to do something about the situation. Whether he succeeds or not is anybody's guess. Let's get to it. This is a national embarrassment. And so this is a picture that for me tells the story. This is the Accra Sports Stadium, and the pitch there looks like what you find in the forest after the Galamsey guys, illegal miners, have done their thing. Yes, that's what it looks like. And I was saying when I saw this that the green grass in my home looked far better than this, absolutely far better than this. It hasn't been watered. You see the patches of sand in there. But this is a national sports stadium. This is the one that we've spent lots of money to build, and we also promised to maintain but hasn't maintained. We failed to maintain and has left it in this state. So CAF says we can't play it here and we can't play it anywhere else. But this is just a picture of what we've done to ourselves as a country. The Black Stars aren't doing well. We know that. But maintain the football pitches. And there's a question about the football pitch. It's not even about the stadium itself. That's the thing that beats me, right? Because this is the easier part of the task of maintaining the pitch. So what will be the state of the washrooms, for example? I'm asking. It's been a while since I've been to the stadium, and we'll sit down and have a conversation. But I want to leave this picture on your screen for a second, just for you to appreciate what has happened to your football pitches. In a country where we have abundant rain, we are in the tropical part of the world, and so it should be easy to maintain this, right? All you need is watering. And I'm hearing a bit of a very interesting story about how the GFA itself has been employing very ingenious ways of watering the green grass. We'll get into that pretty shortly when we sit down. But that is a picture for you. So this man, who is the boss of the National Sports Authority, is gone. He was sacked. We're not told why, but we believe strongly it was because of the national embarrassment that he brought onto us, because it was their responsibility to maintain the sports facilities we have in this country, including the pitches. And he failed to do so, Mr. Doji. So he's been sacked. A statement came from the presidency. He's been dismissed. The president thanked him and said he cannot even act as the National Sports Authority boss anymore. But how did he sit and look on for our pitches to deteriorate to the point where the Black Stars can no longer play football here in Ghana? We are going to be playing home matches, possibly in Nigeria. Can you imagine? Can you just imagine that? Nigeria, our arch rivals in the SAP region, we're going to be playing possibly our home games there. So he's gone, rightly so indeed. And there are a few things, though, that we must ask. If you look at, I just talked about Bayara Sports Stadium. Then you have the Cape Coast Stadium. We obviously have the Accra Sports Stadium, which is also in a state of disrepair, all of them the pitches. But we haven't even brought in the Tamale Stadium. We haven't brought in what we have in the Western region, the Sipon Stadium, right? All of them are even off the list. Because in terms of what we submitted to them, I'm assuming that we didn't even consider that. So we built stadiums for the 2008 Africa Cup of Nations that we celebrated. Just years on, we're unable to even put in a list of stadiums that we consider to play football in. The pitches in these areas where we put out there for FIFA to consider, the CAF to consider, it's not fit for purpose. That is the tragedy we find ourselves in. Now, so what were the specific reasons that CAF gave for this? One is the unsuitable playing field, which I showed you the picture of. Inadequate grass cover is another one that it's horrible indeed from what we saw. Uneven surfaces, all you need to do is to manicure it. It's to mow it and level it. We can't do that. It's a fundamental question we need to ask. Poor drainage is another reason why we are unable to play on the pitches here in Ghana. We have to properly get our team playing elsewhere. By the way, the key question when you look at what we've invested over the period, lots of money to build the stadium, lots of money. If you go back to the University of Ghana one, they spent $34 million to complete it. You come to the Ohenijan Stadium, which is the picture I showed you earlier at the beginning, 49 million to construct it. So taxpayers' money spent on this, only for us to leave it to the point where the common grass, we're unable to grow and keep it. Baba Yara Sports Stadium spent that much there. And I'm talking about the Tamale Sports Stadium, they spend the highest amount of 77 million. It's not even on the list. Because apart from the grass there, the entire infrastructure is in a state of disrepair. So it's not on the list, but we spent 77 million in building it. That really is a shocker. I need to ask the question of my guests when they join me, they follow this. So what's the story with the Tamale Stadium? What's the story with the Sipon, for example? What's happened there? Is it green grass problem too? I'm getting a sneaky feeling there's more than that. But then the question we need to ask though, we're complaining about this, but have we put our monies where our mouths is? Because it's a very important point. Because if you look at what the 2024 budget is telling us, for the Youth and Sports Ministry, they got 195 million cedis for the 2024 year, right? And out of that, only 3.94 million went to the Sports Authority. So if the Sports Authority was going to sort of oversee the stadia and invest in its maintenance, is it our expectation that they'll use 3.94 million to do that? That doesn't sound to me like realistic expectation. So the man has been fired, but was he given the resources to deliver, to maintain the stadia? And then the key question you need to ask, all the commercial revenue that they make from the concerts, etc., when they get the money, what happens to it? Because that also is revenue that's been generated that can go back into maintaining the pitches in the stadia, right? But this doesn't sound to me like something that is adequate to fix the problem we're talking about. So did we prioritize it? Is it his fault or he's been scapegoated by the system, right? Is a key question we need to ask. My guest would tell me the story. So my colleagues at Joy Sports sent a mail to FIFA asking them, what support did we receive from them in maintaining our pitches and the playing fields across the country? They wrote back and said, as far as they're concerned, they've given us an estimated, in fact, slightly more than this, $267,000 to maintain the pitches in some 80 centers across the country, right? We need to ask the question, so was this money actually used for that purpose? And if so, why do we have a situation now where we can't find one stadium in this country that can host an international match? We'll ask that question when we sit for a conversation. So they've been making some money though, internet-generated funds. We know church events have been happening in the stadiums. We know the big one that happened this year, and sometimes even when you are having the crossover from 31st into the 1st of January. Church services happen there. They pay top dollar for that. So what happened to the money and the revenue they make from there? We have music concerts that also happen. Remember that controversy that erupted between one musician about how much money they pay the Sports Authority, and there was this controversy over that. Clearly, accountability is a question, right? And nobody knows what the money is being used for, but the most obvious one is when you host a concert, people will trample on the grass. You have to maintain it afterwards. Part of the money must necessarily go there, but obviously it doesn't. You have educational field trips also that happen there. People contribute some money for it. We're hearing from the sports ministry, and they want to do something about this to avert this embarrassment. Can they succeed? Because the sports minister is talking about the University of Ghana Stadium awaiting CAF inspection. Well, I'll speak to my colleagues because they know a bit about this, whether this will work, because this is a last-minute emergency intervention to try and save face. Whether this will work, whether FIFA and CAF will allow us to play in the University of Ghana, because it's relatively new, right? Maybe it may qualify, but there are big issues here. It is not only about the pitches, it is about sports infrastructure generally. I want to wager you, go to the Baltimore Sports Complex after a year, and we'll see that it would have been outgrown with weeds and it would have been abandoned. This is a bet. Just wait for a year and let's go and visit and let's see what happens there. We just built it recently for the Africa Games, and somebody must prove us wrong that we can, for once, take good care of the infrastructure that we build and spend taxpayers' money to build in this country. My guests will join me for this is a big conversation. It's not about pictures. It's about everything else that makes us happy. Stay with me. And thanks for staying with us. PMS is always brought to you by Syntax Tanks. It is strong, it is tough. No matter your water needs, Syntax Tanks has it all. Syntax Tanks is the first to introduce a double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntax Tank gives you the longest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you in Ghana. Call them on 0244 335 168 or shop online at syntaxuse.com. Academic Times is the paper you should look forward to because it has that which targets young folks, but it's also incoming graphic and online publication aiming to collaborate with university authorities and students to ensure that student research is published in some form. You can imagine all the research that is gathering dust on the shelves. So that is what it is designed to do. Also, the alumni lecture, the University of Ghana Alumni Lecture 2024 is coming up. You want to look out for that too. And PM Express is indeed one that you can also find across many social media platforms, including, of course, if you are an NGL lover, myjoyonline.com and others, Joy FM also. You can also tune in, get a tuning app, download it, and have access to that because you're back there. Joy FM in particular, you can find us there. In the studio with me tonight is Henry Asantuchum, is the spokesperson of the Ghana Football Association. Fencho Tahiru Fencho is the editor at Joy Sports. Ibrahim Sani Dara is a CAF media official, and I'm delighted to have him. It's been a while since I spoke to him, but let me start with the guys in the studio with me now. And Fencho, how did we get here?
A number of reasons, I think, and it ranges from different facets of our sports ecosystem. There's government, lack of investment. There's mismanagement aspect of it, or competence. And then there is the role of the stakeholders all together in the football ecosystem or the sports ecosystem. So be it the GFA, be it all the other organizations that use these facilities. From the government point of view, I think we have massively failed the people of Ghana. Because only a few years ago, we had 4 world-class stadia that we used to host the Africa Cup of Nations in 2008. And from then till now, we added 2 new stadia. We added Cape Coast in 2016 at a cost of 32 million, and we added Legon just this year. Yeah. And we spent an extra $34 million to complete a stadium that was already 70% complete. That is another matter. Golfers have built TNA Stadium in Takwa for the community. The government obviously didn't build that from taxpayers' money, but I'm going to add that as a facility that's been added. So in all, about 7 stadia that this country has. And on paper, all of them should be world-class and should be certified, FIFA standard. And they were at certain moments in time. And somehow, in the last 3 years, we had as many as 3 that were certified, in that we've played FIFA matches, FIFA World Cup matches, qualifying matches, AFCON qualifying matches, in 3 stadia in the last 3 years. Which means that in those last 3 years, at different points, we had 3 different stadia that have been certified by CAF. Cape Coast, Accra, Kumasi. All of them were used by the Black Stars in the last 3 years. And exactly 3 years later, not a single one of them satisfies CAF requirements.
But this has been coming because even for those games, you watch it on television, it was very obvious that something was wrong with the pitch.
Oh, yes. And the reason we've used all 3 is because every time we use one, issues would arise, and then the license of that would be withdrawn, and then we run to the next one, and then we misuse it, and then the next one until we got to Kumasi when it finally caught up with us. So, in essence, from government point of view, 2 things. One, we have not invested enough in the maintenance of facilities in this country. That is one. The number 2 reason is that we have put people who have absolutely zero idea of what it takes to maintain world-class sporting infrastructure in place, and we've watched on nonchalantly for them to completely run down what had become of our facilities. And we saw the encounter the former NSA boss had at the Public Accounts Committee on his management of the Accra Sports Stadium. Anyone that watched that encounter would not have been surprised that the Accra Sports Stadium's license was withdrawn soon after that, because the way they managed the facility was bereft of any competency. The same thing was done to Cape Coast. So, for example, they will do things like hold funerals or host music concerts for several days in a row.
Funerals in the stadium
without covering the pitch, without investing in any protective measures for the stadium. And then after that, the money or the revenue they would get from all these events will never be put back into maintaining the facility. So in the end, what do you get? You get a completely run-down facility. Now, the last one, for example, in Kumasi, and the reason a lot of people were outraged at the quality of the pitch, for those of us that followed closely, when it became obvious that only one stadium was good enough, and even with that one, lots of compromises had to be made. And yet, exactly 35 days to that game against Angola, the NSA boss in Kumasi decided, in his own wisdom, that it was wise to host a 5-day church program with no pitch covers, with seats on the pitch, with people dancing for 5 days, 5 nights, non-stop.
In Kumasi?
Yes, on the pitch, with no protection. And so when the event was...
How many days before the game?
35 days.
Wow.
And then...
Maybe he didn't know we were going to play.
Oh, he did, because he was interviewed about it. And he said, oh, we shouldn't worry. They have a plan to restore the pitch. And you know what their plan to restore the pitch was?
What?
Come and spread fertilizer, bring a tanker and spray water onto the grass so that it looks green. But you see, like I keep saying, when the fundamentals are weak, the match day will expose you. It is not... see, you know one of the things that they did that was so fascinating, and that just speaks to the kind of people we have at the helm running our sports infrastructure. When the CAF inspectors were about to come, they ordered that they take pictures from the pitch and send it to them for them to do first assessment. The people went there, sprayed the water on it for a few days, the grass was green, then they stood on the stands and took pictures from afar, and it was looking green. They posted some on social media, did some editing, sent them to CAF. And who are you deceiving?
And CAF believed
CAF ordered them to take close-up photos. So when they took the close-up photos, it became obvious that the pitch was no good, so they had to come and inspect. And when they came, it wasn't great.
And this was before we played that match?
Yes. And this is just this very last game. And you see, the pitch is just one aspect of the requirements that are needed to be satisfied before a stadium is approved.
How is this affecting the GFA, though? Because fundamentally, you need a pitch in good condition for optimal performance of the players. And for those of us who watched that game recently, that goal we conceded.
Oh, yes.
I'm watching it, I'm like, if we were playing this at Old Trafford, that defender possibly clears that ball. That's how I saw it. You must be agonizing at GFA.
Well, I think it's not a very good moment, if I can put it that way, to be in this position around this time. It's been coming, and we've always liaised with the Sports Authority and the Ministry in meetings upon meetings to give them the technical advice as regards what we needed to do to make these facilities ready for international competitions. Now, Fintu was talking about what was required to certify these venues. Now, the last time we did a head count, CAF raised 19 different issues.
When was this?
This was in 2022. Okay. Before we played against Nigeria.
That's what you mean it's been coming.
You remember we played all our group stage games in Cape Coast before the 2022 playoffs against Nigeria. The last game we played against in Cape Coast was against South Africa, which we won 1-0 and topped the group and qualified for the playoffs. Unfortunately, in the lead up to the playoffs against Nigeria, there was a 6th match parade held in Cape Coast. And that disrupted the pitch. Immediately, CAF sent an email directing us to provide photos of the state of the pitch, which we did, and they shut down the venue. So we hurriedly needed to shift venue from Cape Coast to Kumasi. An inspector came, he went around, looked at the facility. They raised as many as 19 issues. Aside the pitch, there was an issue of the press conference area, the media zone, the floodlights, the scoreboard, the dressing room, the referee's changing room, the technical area, the referee's technical bench, the two teams' technical bench, as many as, and then the venue operational center, which is called VOC. That is the room where monitors, CCTV cameras in the room, everything is there for security reasons. So experts become proactive instead of reactive when there is a disaster or whatsoever. So these 19 issues, they fixed the scoreboard. Yes. They worked on the floodlights. Another issue. I think they
extended the technical bench.
They extended the technical bench. They tweaked the dressing room. At that time, it could take only 18 hangers or so. And then CAF said it should be 21 or more. Now it's been expanded a bit. There was also a pillar in the middle of the dressing room. They were asked to take it off because the players should be able to appreciate what their manager is doing by standing in front of them. And that pillar blocked the view of some of the players because it was an all-round technical area. And then there was a long bench which we were asked to remove and rather use cubicles, where each player will be in his cubicle and observe whatever the head coach is doing before a game, during a game, and after the game. So these things were worked on. Even the size of the press conference room is too small. Baba Yara, it can take maximum 20, 25, and the room is full. And then they spoke about another critical thing, and I keep mentioning this. In football, there is something called safe zone. And this safe zone is how the players enter and exit the stadium. It's an emotional sport. A player could miss a penalty. A fan is outraged. He picks up whatever and throws at the player. Injury, death, and so forth and so on. So FIFA, based on the Escobar incident, have decided that going forward, the only time you will see the players is when they come out of the tunnel for warm-up, and then when they are coming for the game. As soon as they enter the stadium, they should go underground. And almost all the stadiums I have seen across the globe, that's how it is. In Baba Yara, when the players come out of the bus, it's in the full glare of the public. Sometimes even the police shield the fans from having access to the players. And we've dealt with this issue over and over and over again, and it's still unresolved. So you were asking about how we feel. It's indeed embarrassing. Now, you have to, but the players kept mentioning this. Even the last time the vice president visited the team before we played against Central African Republic, the captain of the team told him that they should try as much as possible and work on one top quality pitch that would serve as the home ground for Category 3 games of CAF and FIFA. The vice president said, okay, but we've been waiting. Unfortunately, things have deteriorated since that call.
Let me bring in Sunny Dara. Sunny, so what's your take on what we're talking about now? I mean, the state of the pitches, is CAF maybe being a bit too high-handed in this, considering we just have the Legon Stadium there that I've heard the sports minister say is considering trying to convince them to use it. I know Fent has his opinion on that subject. I'll come to him, but I want your take on that, because how on earth can you say Ghana hasn't got a pitch that can host an international match?
Well, good evening, Evans and friends in the studio and viewers. The truth is that CAF is now being stringent on countries that don't have stadiums suitable to host international matches. Those days when any wishy-washy pitch could pass is long gone. There are more than 15 countries now playing away from their home. And as you'd realize, our last game against Niger was played in Morocco because they don't have a certified pitch in their country. That is Niger. But a country of a gravitas of Ghana, should do better, should do much, much better. And I find it baffling that in a country where we have most of the top class international inspectors, the leading one is Mr. Anthony Bafo, you've got Mr. Alex Asante, there's Fred Achi, there's myself, there's Emmanuel Dasobre. These are people that have gone to inspect facilities for international tournaments. I don't know why we cannot count on the expertise of these people to give us the right advice. We have the facilities, we are spending millions and millions of dollars in putting up infrastructure, yet the key aspect of the thing is not being taken care of. And I'm sorry to say that we've relied on local companies to deliver what we call pitches. But to be honest, a lot of what I've seen having officiated matches in Ghana here and compared to other stuff, I would say what we have in Ghana are just weeds instead of pitches. I would say that it's a culmination of what has happened over the years in the country where, the experts are not considered when decisions are being made, and rather it's political appointees that are given the opportunity to be able to do this. If we want to please, political operatives, there are rules for them to play, but when it comes to the technical aspect of the game, go to the experts, deal with the experts, and let the experts deliver to you. The pitches don't come cheap. So, my thinking is that it's what we've done over the years is what has culminated in this.
I mean, and Fencho, so you wrote to FIFA.
We did.
What did you? Yes. I mean, what did you find?
Well, the email was basically because first of all, there was a publication on the FIFA website about what the FIFA Forward Funds are doing for national member associations around the world. And FIFA has this publication all the time because FIFA likes to tout the achievements in terms of how much money they're giving back to their members in the agenda of developing football around the world. So every now and then they would do publications and tell us what their money is doing for different countries around the world. In one of those publications, they said that their fans to the GFA had helped or contributed to maintaining over 80 pitches, natural grass pitches from around the country. So then we had to inquire, 80 natural grass pitches around the country. How much money was this? So FIFA wrote back and said they have given the FA over $260,000 US for that purpose. Now, it is worth noting that the GFA themselves, 4 years ago, made a publication about this. So it's not new. And it didn't take writing to FIFA to know about what the GFA had intended to do with this money. And they had communicated in that story that they were going to spend $280,000 US on pitches. Now, various aspects of the pitches. One of it, a critical area of it, they said they were going to drill boreholes at various pitches across the country that could serve as source of water that will keep the pitches green all year round.
Is it possible that did not include the established stadia? As in,
yes, it's entirely possible. So I'm coming there. So that money is for the GFA. Now remember that our national stadia are run and owned by the country. Now the GFA are stakeholders, but they don't own these facilities. Now there are two questions to be asked. First of all, the initiative that the GFA, they have the money. FIFA has confirmed that they sent them the money. They said that there were 80 pitches that they had contributed to. The first question would be, how many boreholes did the GFA build? And how many pitches did that money go toward contributing to maintaining? And where are those pitches? Because, frankly, the last time the Black Stars were in Ghana, They went to train at the Legon Stadium for 1 day. They found the pitch in horrible state. They had to abandon it. And
Wait, just pause a second. Is this the same stadium we use for the Africa Games?
Yes, that very one. They trained there for 1 day, and they found the pitch so horrible. In fact, just last weekend.
But what has happened? The Africa Games were just a couple of months ago.
Because it was a substandard pitch that was laid. It was money wasted. No disrespect to anyone, but...
Is it an artificial pitch?
No, it's natural grass. But they spent $34 million without relaying the pitch or without even putting a quality pitch together. Sani mentioned it. We rely on people who don't necessarily have molding expertise.
So you're saying that after 2 months, after we spent all the money on the Legon Sports Stadium, we cannot even train on the pitch.
Even the African Games itself, we played 1 match there. The pitch was that bad. CAF were actually going to reject it, but because it was an African Games competition, that is not under CAF's purview. So they made lots of compromises for us to, and we played 1 game there, Ghana's last group game. That was it. It's always been bad. So that pitch has never...
How much did we spend on the Africa Games again to build that stadium?
The whole Africa Games?
Yeah.
Over $245 million.
But the University of Ghana one costed $34 million, the stadium, just to complete.
Just to complete what was already 70% complete.
$34 million.
Completion of the entire edifice.
And it was still without very fundamental facilities that would have had it certified. So as we speak, we built a stadium in 2024. Modern Stadium spent $34 million, and it doesn't mean...
No, but wait, let's put it in context. The $34 million is not what it costs to build the entire stadium. It's what it costs to complete it.
To complete it.
Yes.
So I'm saying...
So it's definitely exponentially more than $34 million.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. But in context, we did spend $32 million to build a stadium from scratch in this country, Cape Coast.
Yes.
From scratch. Okay, so I'm saying that in 2024, we spent $34 million in a stadium, to complete a stadium. That does not meet half of the things required by CAF for a stadium to be certified. Who was consulted in this process? The stadium has no media center. It has, the floodlights doesn't meet the requirements. The pitch has major issues. The calibrations of the pitch, in fact, the technical bench or the advertising board has to be a certain distance away from the pitch. It doesn't meet any of that. The pitch is horrible. It was never relayed. So what was there, built in 2004 when they started the stadium, is the exact same pitch. We plant the grass like we are planting potatoes. We don't apply modern techniques. So that pitch is unplayable. Just last weekend, I'm not always saying it, Mediama played Legon Cities there. Mediama's coach complained. He said the pitch, it's impossible to move the ball on that pitch. The very pitch we think that CAF should come and inspect and certify to host Sudan.
So let's backtrack now. So when we had the sports minister say they're trying to fix the problem and get CAF to reconsider, they're thinking about the University of Ghana Stadium.
Listen to this. They specifically put that in a statement. I'm not saying it. They put it in a statement and instructed the GFA to contact CAF to bring inspectors to come and inspect 2 facilities. Baba Yara wasn't even part. They said they should come and inspect Accra and University of Ghana. Now we've heard they've included Cape Coast Stadium as well. Now we've all seen, in the very week that they released that statement instructing the FA to bring people to come and inspect, Mediama played against Legon Cities. The coach said the pitch is the most horrible pitch he's ever seen. Then that very weekend, the Samatex played against Casablanca, a Moroccan team. The Moroccan coach said after the game, this is Accra Sports Stadium, he said after the game that it is impossible, that's his word, he said it's impossible to play on a pitch like that. On that very day, the people who went to watch that game did not have access to bathrooms, because the NSA locked up the bath. They were so embarrassed at the nature of the bathroom that they locked up all the bathrooms in the stadium. So, and guess what? How counterproductive that was. Anyone that went to watch that stadium, if they felt pressured to go and take a piss, excuse me, where do you think they went?
Yeah. Sani, yes, give me, I see you want to chip in here.
Absolutely. Look, Evans, I think that, in all honesty, we should start right from the top. How we've appointed people to run things as far as our sports facilities are concerned. Number one, if we should start with the psyche of the country itself. we think that we are doing the sports industry a favor when you put up sports infrastructure. You cannot budget 60 million cedis. That is just over $1 million for the entire sports industry for 1 year. When you put up a sports infrastructure, or when you put up sports infrastructure, there must be money for maintenance. There must be money for it to consistently meet up to international standards. There should never be the case when government will say the stadiums that are built for the youth of the country must generate money to run itself. It's impossible. The pitches that they are talking about, before the African Cup of Nations, I went to have a look at the recent African Cup of Nations. My venue was in Boaké. 3 years before, the Ivorian government was dithering until CAF stepped on its toes and told them that unless you put up world-class infrastructure, you are not going to host this competition. They did. They brought top pitch experts from the world. When I returned to Boaké, that was my venue. Look, I went to their training pitch, right in the middle of a place like Nima. The pitch was like me being in Europe, because their government had made, the conscious effort that we need to invest in it. They brought top pitch experts. And you saw what you saw at the African Cup of Nations, rated as one of the best. If we don't rid ourselves of this mentality that, the sports industry itself, the stadium itself must run to be able to fend for it, the people you put there as managers of the NSA or whatever will be bound to, rent it out for music concerts, church programs, political programs, and the rest, to raise money. But the money is not sufficient to be able to do it. And another sticking point is for me to address government directly, that we saw what happened at the Parliamentary Select Committee the last time. And yesterday, the letter dismissing the chairman of the NSA was clear, who was appointing the chairman of the National Sports Authority. It looks like, as we saw at the Parliamentary Select Committee when Professor Chumisi was the chairman of the NSA, because they are not appointed by the minister, they don't feel accountable to the minister. So they can completely ignore, even if the minister gives directive to them, because they know that they derive their power straight from the presidency and not the minister. So they can completely undermine the minister if the minister wants to do something. And that is not to hold brief for the minister, but I think that these are some of the bottlenecks that have led to this place. And I think that we should start changing our mentality. We should put budget. There's a lot of money government is making from sports betting, for example, in this country. And I'm sure a day government might collect more than $1 billion in sports betting taxes alone. Why can't we ring-fence some of this funding and direct it towards this place and put the right people, the qualified people there to run the affairs? You can please your political, operatives in some other ways outside the technical areas of what needs to be done for a stadium to be cleared to host international matches. This is the problem we face. If we can change our sports ministers, let them go and come however it is. But if we don't change these things, we don't provide funding for it, we don't appoint the right people to those positions, we'll come back to this same spot again next year or so.
And Henry, just to something that Fent was saying there, there's 67,000. What happened to it?
Okay,
that
so
FIFA claims was given to the GFA.
So Evans, in 2019, when this administration took office, we wrote to FIFA trying to assess what they call the FIFA Forward. The FIFA Forward was introduced by the current president of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, where member associations are supposed to embark upon certain special projects. Now, in our context, we made FIFA understand that we've got two weather conditions, the dry season and then the wet season. During the wet season, we don't seem to have problems with our pitches, but during the dry season, all our pitches actually wither because of the weather condition, especially up north, the B area, parts of the Ashanti region, Eastern, and then largely Greater Accra. So we were asked to put a proposal together. We assembled a team of technocrats. They put a proposal together. We told FIFA we want to go into borehole to provide adequate water for the maintenance of these pitches. Now, FIFA sent their representative, the head of FIFA in Africa, Wak Diop from Senegal, to come and inspect. We earmarked a number of sites. Division 1 league centers, Women's Premier League centers, and game centers in the various regions. Now, of the recce that we did, about 8 different pitches qualified to benefit from this borehole project. So we wrote back to FIFA. Then they asked us to put the final document together. We sent it to Zurich, and it was approved. We had a borehole. I think we had 6 in Pram Pram, our technical center. We constructed a borehole at Teshi Mats Park for Women's Premier League. We did one in the Eastern region at the Deu Park. We did one in Kukrentumi for a Division 2 game center, which is now being used by a Division 1 side. In Kumasi, we did Westco Park, Prempeh College. In Sunyani, we did the Sunyani Technical University. We did the Sunyani Coronation Park. In Brekum, we did the Golden City Park in Brekum. In the Central region, we did the Swedru Park. We also did the Soccer Intellectuals Park. In Sekendi, we did the Jendu Park. In Tamale, we did the Tamale Sports Stadium. In Boliga, where we currently have our technical directorate or our academy in Wikongo, near Boliga, we did 2 at the Bogatanga Senior High School because the regional FA used that venue as a game center for juvenile leagues and women's Division 1. And then we did 2 at the Wikongo Technical Center, where we currently have.
So this was all just building
boreholes? It was just about building boreholes and providing water tanks and water pumps so that during the dry season, these facilities would have enough water to keep the grass.
Because you mentioned the Tamale Sports Stadium, so didn't include Kumasi and Accra.
At the time FIFA approved the project, the Baba Yara Sports Stadium was under renovation.
Okay.
And at that time, it would not even occur to you that the project will be complete and they would have water crisis or water issues. We even did one at the Dr. Kwame Chase Sports Complex.
What about Accra Stadium?
At the Accra Sports Stadium, no, because at that time they had already resolved their water crisis. There was a point where they didn't have water, and they were even advised not to use the water from
the water pumps that you put
absolutely,
in there.
because it contained a certain percentage of salt, so it affected the growth of the grass. Then they changed it and started using a different source of water. So Baba Yara was not considered because it's a national stadium, first of all, and secondly, it was under renovation. Tamale was considered because at the time FIFA approved the project, we had 3 Premier League clubs in Tamale, and they have a peculiar situation. Sometimes they have water crisis. The water from it goes on for 3 months, 4 months, and there is no water. So that situation needed urgent attention. At that time, we had Tamale City, Karela United, Royal Tamale United playing in the Premier League, and we had 4 Division 1 teams, and then 2 women's Premier League teams, and 4 juvenile teams using that facility. So there was a lot of pressure on the Tamale Stadium, for which reason we decided to extend the borehole project to the Tamale Sports Stadium. At that time, and when you look at the various pitches in the country and what needed to be done at that crucial moment, the most important thing we had to do was to make water available.
Yeah, but as it is now, for the Tamale Sports Stadium, from what I heard, it's the pitches.
No, they closed down the Tamale Sports Stadium, and now it is being renovated. I understand it's about 80% complete, and soon they will.
Henry, if you don't mind, I have a question. So where do you think FIFA is getting those 80 pitches from?
That is what we provided them.
So which 80 pitches are those?
You just mentioned
that. No, you mentioned 25. I counted.
I have mentioned the number of them.
Yes, I counted 25.
I think I have. Let me just work on the list.
So if you have 80, how many of those pitches that you've worked on with this money are functional enough? For example, for a national team to train on, because clearly every time the Black Stars still come, they're struggling to find a pitch.
Okay, Evans, when it comes to training pitches for national teams, the primary decision or the power comes from the head coach. He decides where he wants to train. And it is based on a number of reasons. Security is one. If it is that they would have to train at a facility where security, quote unquote, becomes an issue. He was talking about Legon. The team trained at Legon for once and then they moved. I can tell him, I am attached to the team. One of the reasons why we moved away from Legon was because of security.
What happened with security?
I mean, I can't go into details and all of that, but it was one of the reasons why we moved from, because the coaches decided to train in a certain environment, but we couldn't get that because students were still on campus at the time. So they moved to the Accra Sports Stadium.
Yes,
where they thought they can control
the security
and
the environment.
And then they will be.
You mentioned that you installed as many as 6 boreholes at the technical center in Pram Pram.
Yes,
presumably to take care of pitches. Correct.
Yes,
how is it?
We have two grass pitches at Pram Pram at the moment, and we want to build 2
Can the Black Stars train there?
At the moment, no.
Why?
Because the pitches are not in good condition.
But you invested a lot of money in them. Why are they not in good condition?
Okay, so those pitches, the pitches in question were constructed years ago. Now, when we decided to make the borehole project available in Pram Pram, it was to try and see if we could get those pitches back in a condition where it would be useful enough.
So why hasn't that happened?
It takes time. It's about investment. It's about money.
When was this investment done in terms of water borehole?
This was 2 years ago.
But 2 years is a long time to grow.
It takes 90 days to build a world-class pitch.
Yes.
So now, 2 years is
in building a world-class pitch, it's not only about the grass.
No, it's not.
It's about a lot of factors. Now, the situation in Pram Pram is such that if you just plant the grass without taking science into consideration, you will make a mistake. So we employed experts to come and look at the grass, pH system, the cross osmosis, the clay system, and what we needed in terms of black soil, its density, its quality, and what needed to be laid. So you have to take off the grass completely, lay a new soil, water press for it to get to a certain level before you can plant there.
That's what you've done.
Yeah.
And that's what we are.
No, but 2 years sounds to me like too long a time, and you still haven't cracked it. That the Black Stars can still not train there.
Evans, if you want to train at Pram Pram, you have to consider, is the team going to camp in Pram Pram? Do you have the facility that is good enough to camp the players in Pram Pram where they will walk from their dormitory or hotel rooms and go to training, or you camp in?
I guess the fundamental question is that is the pitch in a state now
at
that
the moment
can host
no.
training? Yes, but
that's for all the years and for all the money they've received in the name of pitch maintenance and for the investment they've made in Pram Pram. My view is that by this time, at least, we should not be complaining about an inability to train in Pram Pram because of a pitch. There could be other issues, like he mentioned, maybe distance between hotel and Pram Pram. But it cannot be pitched, because my honest view is that by this time, and by the amount of money we've accessed from the FIFA forward, Pram Pram should have at least 3 world-class pitches. He said they're building 2 now. Fair enough, but I'm saying that in that period, my view is that if they worked perhaps more expeditiously, we should have had something bigger to brag about.
The money you went for was not to construct a pitch.
You did.
The money we went for
yes.
was for a particular project.
Fair enough.
To provide boreholes across the country.
Yes, and you put 6 of them in Pram Pram.
Yes.
In the name of maintaining pitches there.
Absolutely.
But you've not maintained the pitches.
Very quickly, because of time, I'm also interested because I know the Pram Pram thing is a big deal.
I wanted to go through the list.
No, it's too long. I'm not sure that we can, share it with the team. But I'm interested in this intervention to try and salvage the situation. Yeah. He says the sports ministry has asked the GFA to sort of contact CAF. Have you done so?
We took the letter, we received the message, and we've acted on it. And what it is that these things go through a process. When you inform CAF to come for inspection, they they consider a number of factors. You know, they consider the timing, they consider whether or not the inspection is relevant to the date for your next game and who is coming for the inspection. Now, whoever is coming for the inspection, you, as a federation or as a country, you have to agree that the person is coming based on CAF terms, but you take care of the cost. Air ticket.
So is the person coming or not? Do we know
They're
that?
coming.
At the moment, as I sit here, I know it is being worked on, but I don't know whether it is going to be tomorrow or tomorrow next.
You at GFA, you know if we can pass this test before the next game. Based on what you know, can we pass this test? Even if CAF comes and knowing the picture you see?
I don't know. I can't say yes because inspection is done by an expert. He needs to send his report back to CAF, and then the professional body at CAF will take a decision. So I cannot say whether we will pass or not. Because the last time before the Nigeria game, things were done hurriedly. Luckily, we were able to go through that.
The possibilities we might play in another country as our host
It's
venue.
one of the possibilities.
Which possible countries have we explored? Because you should definitely be exploring that by now.
The contingency plan.
Yes.
Working.
There is a contingency plan.
Where are we looking at?
Options have been thrown out. The Executive Council is discussing.
Which countries are we?
I am sure that once we are at the discussion stage, it will be unprofessional.
Henry, what are the options? Where are we going?
It will be
Nigeria, Ivory Coast.
It will be unprofessional for me to talk about countries we are talking to.
But there are options. I mean, so
Yes.
you can decide on any
Yes,
of them.
but these options does not solely lie on the FA. We have to go back to government as well.
We're going to Togo or Cote d'Ivoire, I can tell you that.
Okay, yeah.
Nigeria is out of the
Thank you
equation.
very much. When is the game, though?
Our game
7th
is on the 10th. 10th October.
Okay, so we have a fair bit of time.
Magicians, Ghana and magic.
Sandy, thank you very much for joining us. We'll revisit this conversation when hopefully we get the inspectors in and finish the job. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.